Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. Thanks for being with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks so much for your patronage. We love having you on. We love having you listen to us. We love being able to talk about the stuff that we love in the world of sports. JJ and Alex, speaking of guys who love sports, Jeremiah Jensen, my normal co-host of the program, calling high school state championships.
By the way,
spoiler alert. Roy and Bountiful, the rematch of a what is that, region
5? Yeah, region 5.
Either way, the 5A state championship between two region foes.
Yep.
I thought Roy was going to do it, and this was their year, and they come up short. The Bountiful Red Hawks.
Yeah, Red Hawks. Well,
I almost yelled out the last one. I was about to get killed.
And we just had Christian Cox literally leaving the studio. I should have given him like, dude, congrats.
Yeah, man.
He's a proud Bountiful
alum.
So
I love it. So Bountiful, your 5A state champion. They're calling the Lone Peak and Corner Canyon. Boy, it's a shame. It's a historic thing. You never see those two teams meet together at the in the state championship game. Lone Peak, Corner Canyon. Well, those teams need a shot sometimes, and I'm glad they got one this year.
And Davis County, Weber County area traditionally seems to be one of those areas that they've got good teams, but have very rarely broken through. But the nice part was you had an all Northern Utah
for 5A
championship. So cool. Congratulations to Bountiful. And Roy, I was with you. I thought they were going to get the job done, but come up just a little bit short.
So they lost in the regular season to Bountiful too, right?
Yes, they did. Yeah. So I think they lost
so then you got yourself a little rivalry going on there. I love it. That's your high school update. So, Lone Peak, Corner Canyon facing off, and then tonight is going to be that 4A matchup between Crimson Cliffs and Spanish Fork, my wife's alma mater. And guess what? All of it's going to be right there on KSLSports.com. So it's all streaming right there. You can hear Sly and JJ on that call. Joining me today, nice enough to hang out on a long, long day for him, is Jake Hatch, illustrious producer of DJ and PK. And, of course, Jake and I also get to jam every week on the Cougar pre- and post-game shows. So this is always fun because we get to hang out, and we chat enough during the week, but it's always fun to be able to do this. So thanks for hanging out with me today.
Happy to do it. Thanks for inviting me back.
Here's the deal. Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. The G2G Bar, perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. Let's jump into the program right here. Let's get into some sound from Provo. Everybody's wondering what the Fire Roderick voices were loud on Saturday night, especially right after that loss to Kansas. But we'll hear some comments from A-Rod and what they're going to do to try to right the ship, of course. I love how the ship is going down at 9-1. So how can you right the ship? That's where we're kicking things off here with the cut. Let's do it right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this first cut of the day brought to you by Trajan Wealth, your local financial fiduciaries in retirement. Visit their website, TrajanWealth.com. That's TRAJAN Wealth.com. Trajan Wealth. All right. The lights are brighter in here. Jake likes a bright light in here. Yeah. I couldn't see a thing. That's why I put the hat down a little bit further. And, I like the medium light. I'm not like a Lloyd live in the dark kind of guy. But
somebody set the lights. I just literally put the button on. I'm like, wow, that's pretty bright.
I'm like, put it in the middle. No, it was bright. But no, we need to get the light in here. BYU and Arizona State coming up in the next hour, and we're shortened today, by the way, because of Jazz pregame. 4 o'clock, by the way, your Utah Hockey Club is going to be firing up their pregame show over on KSL 1160 AM. So
hockey afternoon.
Hockey afternoon. It's not even a hockey night in America. Yes, or hockey night in Utah. It's a hockey afternoon in Utah. You can catch that over on the 1160 signal. And then we're going to have Utah Jazz taking over at 5 o'clock right here as well. So we've got a lot to jam in on the program today. And not the least of which is trying to figure out this BYU team and how they're going to react. I can't help but see when teams they go deep into a season and they're undefeated and they lose that game, it sets things in a weird motion, Jake. How do you respond after that? Everybody's wanting to know how BYU is going to respond, and so far, we've heard very good things about how, because we heard after the fact that practices weren't good last week.
Well, they struggled scoring in practice, which obviously translated to the game, because when you make 4 trips into the red zone, Alex, and come out with a grand total of 6 points from said trips, there's a reason why you lost that game. It's in the red zone. And I don't mean to simplify it that much, but Aaron Roderick, I think anybody in that program will tell you, you make that many trips into the red zone and come away with just 2 field goals, you essentially deserve to lose that game.
Well, and so a lot of people were, of course, saying that same thing, right? Where they're like, A-Rod doesn't know how to call a game anymore. They figured him out. Well, here's what A-Rod said about BYU and Arizona State. Here's what he said about the run game versus Kansas in particular.
Yeah, I mean, there's no moral victories, but we did control that game. We did a lot of good things in that game, and the story of the game is just not finishing with touchdowns in the red zone. You know, if we finish with a couple of touchdowns, we run away with that game, and but we didn't. We didn't do it. So all the good things we did in the open field don't count because they're not points. You know, but I was pleased with the toughness that we played with, the execution in the open field. We just have to finish better in the red zone, and we have a good plan, and I'm confident our guys will do that this game.
When you're controlling the ball that much, and I mean they were taking huge chunks. That second quarter may have been one of the top 5 fastest quarters you and I've ever witnessed at that stadium. It was just cooking along, and BYU had that one drive that was like 17 plays, and
that was the third
7.5. Oh, that was third quarter.
17 plays, 10 minutes, 26 seconds.
You don't see a double-digit minutes like the 10-plus minutes, especially. But here's the thing.
And had they gone for it on fourth down, they could have probably essentially ended the quarter on that drive as well.
But especially ending it with 3 points.
3 points, yeah.
That's the part. And that was your only points in the second half, was that long, sustained drive where, again, you're controlling the clock, controlling all those things. But are you really controlling it when you're not able to punch it in? The answer is BYU likes to score in these kind of flashy ways. The Rapati wheel route there that he had on that catch, beautiful, awesome, 30 yards out. But the team has struggled, but he keeps going back, and this is what A-Rod said about the run game overall. Like, that's something that they are going to still stay focused on and making sure that they can establish that run game.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the sound right here. Yeah, go ahead. Maybe. All right. It was the run game. Well, anyway, about the importance of the run game.
We emphasize that a lot, you know what I mean? Making sure that we're able to run the ball really well. I mean, you run the ball really well and great defense, I mean, that's a recipe to win games, right? And so that's one thing that we've been able to just focus on day in and day out. And so I feel like it's been showing, you know?
Sorry, that was Hinckley Rapati. That's why we couldn't find the right sound. All right. Hinckley Rapati, they're asking him to do a lot more.
Yeah.
And LJ Martin, they're asking him, obviously, to take most of the carries, but you also didn't see more you still want to see more carries out of these guys. You still want to see more of a load taken over by these guys because they're talented. I think by the end of the game, we all realized that stretch option play was not it anymore. And so on that final time that it was run and it was to the short side of the field, it was just not a good play. And it was, by the way, we found out that was audibled into by Jake as well. So that was it was not a good spot for this BYU offense that has been able to convert in so many different times. Yeah. And they finally, that streak kind of, came to an end on that. But the one thing that everybody wanted to know about was that fade play that was thrown, that Jake threw in the second week in a row, a second short and low pass to the corner of the end zone, straight to a defender. Here's what he said about the fade.
That play, I think we've scored 12 touchdowns on that play in the last 5 years. The last 2 times have been interceptions, so it might be time to go away from that for a while. But it's been a very good play for us over the years. I think Isaac Rex had 5 or 6 touchdowns alone just on that play. I mean, we threw a couple last year, one to Darius Lassiter. It's been a really good play. Last game, Jake just made a bad throw. The play was there. Our guys did what they were supposed to do. You have a tight end on a corner, huge size advantage. You just have to throw the ball to the back pylon, and it's either our guy or nobody.
I'm going to miss it. I'm really going to miss that play. I'm going to have to go away from it for a while. Oh, you're breaking my heart.
Cougar fans out there like, yes!
Never want to see that play again. Well, which, by the way, is like, gosh, I always worked with Isaac Rex, and it's like,
okay,
Isaac Rex, I like Mata Avatase, but he's not Isaac Rex.
No, here's the thing.
Very different.
And
throw it to Chase Roberts, man, if you're going to do it.
If you're going to do that, get Darius Lassiter, Chase Roberts in that one-on-one situation. Or even like Keanu Hill, I think was out of the game at that point. Yeah. But Keanu Hill had the one earlier this year against SMU on that same play that had it was a 2-point conversion, if I recall correctly, in that circumstance. Maybe a touchdown, but you're right. You may need to just put it in the playbook and just have it buried deep for a little while because, yeah, Isaac Rex, he was an elite go-up-and-get-it type guy. Mata'ava Ta'ase, love the kid, but he's not the same level of talent at tight end as a guy like Isaac Rex. So, yeah,
Maybe that's why you go to him because you think, well, on film, this kid wasn't getting any of those passes.
But here's the thing. Jake made a horrendous throw, and Aaron acknowledged it. He said that the throw
he missed it.
He just missed the throw. And it's unfortunate because obviously it had Cougar fans in a tizzy. They're still quite angry. I'm not going to lie. If you look at social media, they're still angry about the overall performance of the offense, and for good reason because you score 13 points and lose a game of that your defense was pretty incredible in. It's going to leave people feeling a little bit bitter about it. But, yeah, that one's going to stick in people's craw for a little bit.
All right. Here's what else he said about the tight ends because I know that's a group that everybody was, focusing on and it's been a good group so far this year, but there isn't like one guy who's standing out, on top of everybody. Here's what A-Rod said about the tight end play.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't featured our tight ends a ton down the field. The offense is about getting the ball to your playmakers, doing what they do best. And so the ways that we feature our tight ends will be what they do best. And then the way we feature our receivers and our running backs is try to do what everybody does best.
All right, finally, facing off against this Sun Devil defense, which, I watched a good chunk of that, well, the entire first half of that Kansas State-Arizona State game. And they're in Manhattan. And Kansas State is always supposed to be the more physical team than anybody. They take a lot of pride in winning the trenches all the time. And they got that big time Midwestern beef, offensive and defensive lines. And they were getting pushed around like crazy by that ASU defense. They were kind of having their way. They were forcing Avery Johnson into some uncomfortable spots. The ASU defense is probably more underrated than I think we're giving them credit for. Here's what A-Rod said.
Well, they play with an edge, man. They compete really hard. They are just flying around, I think. I mean, they have good speed. They play with tenacity. I respect these guys a lot. They're fun to watch, and I'm excited to play against them, but we have a lot of respect for them.
There you go. I don't know what to expect this game. I don't know how these guys are going to come out. I wonder how practices are going this week. I think when we talked to Connor Pay, it was early in the week, though, and he was like, oh, yeah, walkthroughs are really crisp, and Tuesday practices kind of give us a better idea of kind of where we're at. Yeah. And the overall, and then we had, was it Chase Roberts we had on yesterday on the show? Yeah, so Chase Roberts said they had a phenomenal practice yesterday. The energy is high. Mm-hmm. Those are good signs. I don't think that we really give that much credit to the type of way. We always say, well, you play the way you practice. However you practice, that's what you're going to. But they set up practice to feel like a game situation. And when they weren't scoring in the red zone at practice, guess what freaking happened? They didn't score in the red zone at the game in this game against Kansas. They could have not just scored one touchdown. Like the reality is the weird quick kick ended up putting Kansas at the 4-yard line on a 4th and 14. So they really could have won that game with 13 points. They really could have.
Yeah.
They could have kept. It would have been a 13-10 game, and you know what people would have said? Who cares? You're 10-0. You know what I mean? And then you start to look around and go, well, the playoff committee is probably going to get grumpy about them beating a 3-7 team. The best 3-7 team in the country, by the way. It's always my favorite when people go that route. It's like, come on. Oh, they're not going to get the invite to that bowl game. Well, but they are a really good 3-7 team. They are a really good 4-6 team. Anyway, I don't know what to think about this team yet because we haven't seen them in this moment where they have to face an opponent a week after a loss. There have been a lot of close wins. There have been a lot of emotional wins. And they even acknowledged that the emotions of that rivalry game the week before kind of got to them at practice.
Well, I can tell you that they absolutely believe that the hangover effect from that rivalry game did affect them in that contest. And I don't think it's any surprise to anybody who has watched BYU and Utah do battle in those rivalry games and watched them both lose this past weekend. That game requires so much expenditure of energy, both mentally, physically, and every other facet of your life, that, yeah, it takes you a minute to rebound from that. And BYU, had that quick kick knock off Evan Johnson's helmet. They very well may have been able to grind out a victory, but circumstances being what they were, they ended up dropping that contest, and now they're 9-1. And Alex, it sets up an absolutely insane game. Now we've got Matt Berry and Dan
Mullen.
Dan Mullen. They're talking about the ASU BYU game. Matt Berry's a very proud Arizona State Sun Devil.
Of course.
So I'm sure that's why that made it onto SportsCenter that we're watching right now. But they're talking about it.
Oh, they're at the Georgia Tech NC State game tonight. That's
tonight for ESPN coverage. But they're talking. They just mentioned. I think it showed that there's a 56% chance of ASU winning this game according to the ESPN FPI, the Football Percentages Index. And I really do think this is a game. It's 50-50 right now. These are two teams that, Alex, have come out of nowhere. Arizona State was picked dead last in the Big 12 Conference this year. BYU 13th. Now they're battling for a chance. Whoever wins this game essentially has the inside track of going to Arlington to play in the Big 12 title game. Think about the stakes of this.
Honestly, I think that BYU and Arizona State are actually better stories than Colorado this year. Yeah. I think that they were more of a shock than Colorado was this year.
They just happen to have Coach Prime on the Colorado side who draws a lot of eyeballs.
Oh, of course. Was it more is it more shocking the success that Arizona State is having, or the 0-7 start to Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State teams? They were in the Big 12 championship game last year. They have not won a game in conference this year.
I would say, quite honestly, it's got to be Arizona State. Now, I was talking with a guy down there in Arizona last night, and
was his name PK?
No, it should have been PK. No, but I was talking to somebody not named PK, even though the conversation could have been very easy with Patrick Kinahan, of course, our colleague here on the Zone. But the conversation kind of turned to, Alex, is this the biggest game in these two programs' history?
That's aggressive.
But think about the stakes on this game, though.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how far you can go, then yeah, because this is the first time that the college football playoff has ever been, right? And then you could essentially, I don't know. I mean, was the best year that Arizona State had? Have they won? They never won a Pac-12 title.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, this person I was talking to 10 years ago. Remember, they had beaten Notre Dame and looked like they were on track to make the first ever college football playoff. They were on track.
The 4-team one. The first 4-team one, yeah.
And then they lost to Oregon State the following week after beating that Notre Dame team, and it just fell apart from there.
Yep.
And Arizona State at that point thought they had that. They're like, sweet, we're going to break through here. I think, was that Taylor Kelly, that era of Arizona State?
I don't know. I can only think of a successful Arizona State team being run by Jake the Snake, man.
Yeah,
that's the
only
thing.
That's even further
Because I think, did they go to a Rose Bowl?
They went to a Rose Bowl, yeah. But the point was, it's been a minute since there's been stakes like this for these two teams, and it sets up for a pretty wild.
Here's the thing: there have never been stakes like this because they've never had this type of a scenario where either of them were in a Power Four conference as conference foes.
Correct.
And playing for an opportunity to play in the very first 12-team playoff.
So that's why the conversation turned to, is this the biggest game?
I like the conversation.
And trust me, the conversation was, okay, well, BYU's got a national championship. You've got Arizona State, who's been to, I think, 2 Rose Bowls. They've won 1, I know. PK talks about it all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, shocking. But he talked about, the person I was talking to, Richie, he was just like, you know what? There are major implications on this game. And to think that these two teams that were picked near the bottom of the Big 12 Conference have a game of this magnitude this late in the season, it's pretty awesome to consider.
So, 1986, they went to the Rose Bowl.
Uh-huh.
They beat Michigan.
Okay, so PK was in attendance at that one then.
So they beat Michigan 22-15. That was in 86.
86 was Jim Harbaugh the quarterback?
86, it was January 1 of 87.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. And then 97, of course, when they lost to Ohio State.
Got it. Okay, there you
17-20. So those are the two. The rest of them have been. But you know what's on the line here? Like you think of, sure, that's great. They played in Fiesta Bowls They played in 8 Fiesta Bowls between 1970 and 1980, right? Because that's where they're at, right? I mean, that was the bowl in their backyard. And the Fiesta Bowl wasn't like, it was a good bowl, but it wasn't the Fiesta Bowl like we have now.
So Jim Harbaugh was he was a fifth-year senior in 86 on that Rose Bowl team for Michigan. He was the starting quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines.
There you go. See, I wouldn't have thought, well, either way. I mean, there hasn't been an Arizona State team that has been on the brink of doing anything more than just, going to the berth in the Rose Bowl. But I don't even think they were – I don't know did they win the Pac-12 those years? Because I think they may not have even – I mean, obviously, if you go to the Rose Bowl in 86, you did. But, yeah, I mean, there's not – I guess it's Pac-10 back then. Either way, I think actually, now that I consider it, the answer is absolutely, because this is the first year that either of them have been in a conference together. In the Big 12 for BYU, this is the first time they've been in a power conference level, race to actually start being in a conversation to be in the college football playoff. And again, I think that people who get down the road talking about the college football playoff, the reality is that a Big 12 championship game appearance and a Big 12 championship being on the line, that would be an insane thing to happen.
Sure.
Would that be the biggest thing that they've done since the national championship is win the Big 12?
It sure feels that way.
Because you win the WAC in the 1996 season, it's like, awesome. You have some good years along the way in independence, but no one gives a dang because you're in independence.
There's this thing called the Bowl Alliance that's going to make sure that you don't get into to one of those big games.
Yeah.
We'll give you the Cotton Bowl, but you ain't getting the Fiesta.
Sure.
And that's the other thing about it is it's been 40 years since BYU completely changed the college football universe. Remember, there were rules put in place after BYU won the national title in 1984.
Yeah, because they beat Bo Diddley Tech.
And the powers that be in college football said, that is never happening again.
Right.
And so 40 years later, BYU has the opportunity to go out there. And I'm not saying BYU is going to be considered to be a contender for the national championship, but to have the chance to play for that,
Yeah.
that's something that BYU's never had.
Yep. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got our first break of the day, and we're going to get to Steve Bartle around the corner, our Ute insider for KSLSports.com. We're going to chat with how the preparations for Iowa State are going and all of the this season talk, all of the postseason talk that's already being talked about up there on the Hill and where Kyle's head's at, all of those things. We're going to chat with Steve Bartle. You don't want to miss any of it right here, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, he's got his own intro music and everything. It's like a movie trailer.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was waiting for the HOTT. That's what they play when they bring him on with Jake and Ben on Fridays. So.
Hey, listen. We have to look, we paid all that money for that Hollywood voice over this thing. We got to use it. Steve Bartle, Utah insider for KSLSports.com, join us on the program. What's going on, Steve? Happy Thursday, man.
Not much, fellas. How we doing?
We're trying to figure out our lives, man. I mean, it's a wild time to be following all the sports that we, of course, follow here at KSL Sports and the KSL Sports Zone. So I would imagine your life has gotten very weird over the last few weeks, mostly just because trying to understand what's going on up on the Hill from a media perspective is very, very hard, I would assume, because I think people inside the program are trying to figure out what's going on, and they can't either.
Yeah, it's definitely been a weird year, to say the least. Coming into the season, obviously expectations were very high for the program, and they essentially, thanks to those water coolers against Baylor, right? Like that's it sent that plan and those hopes, into abyss, and so it's been interesting, right? And it's not to blame. All of Utah's struggles on those water coolers and what happened to Cam Rising. But, there's certainly a lot more that we've learned about the program this year and where it's at. And it's been super interesting to kind of navigate this season, given just how, all of the expectations locally, nationally pointed to Utah being one of the top contenders and, with a couple injuries that just has sent the team, and essentially it's unraveled, in a lot of ways. There's still a lot of good things happening and guys that are battling and fighting, but, it's tough when you're on a 6-game losing streak. It's been a long time since Utah's had one of those. So it's just been one of those, Utah's not immune to them, but it's just super surprising that it happened this year.
Steve, earlier this week, Kyle Whittingham's comments, I think, especially on Monday, were, I thought, pretty forthcoming and quite transparent. I thought about what he makes of the future of college football in general, how things are going to change, obviously, with this antitrust settlement coming into effect, the 105-man rosters and the like. Are you looking at this from, I guess, perspective-wise, that he's essentially trying to lay out what it's going to take for Utah to get back on top with those comments? What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I do think there's, a bit of, just sincere honesty in terms of, what it is going to take, and also just kind of painting the picture of the reality of college football right now. Yeah. It's changed dramatically over the last couple of years, and he's always been willing to share his thoughts on the future of college football, and he shared a couple of years ago when NIL first became a thing that it would only be a matter of time before you see the teams with the biggest payrolls essentially. You couldn't really call it that then, but we know what it is. We know what he was referring to, right? And just the teams with the biggest amount of money and the biggest backing, financially, were going to be the teams that rose to the top. And in a lot of ways, we're seeing that. And it's just his comments on Monday again just kind of reemphasized those points and provided a little bit more clarity into terms of the details of what's really going on, right? We know that teams have always, that money's always been involved in college athletics, but the amount of money now that's being directed towards the players is unlike anything we've seen, and it's only going to continue to grow over the next few months, in my opinion, with the revenue sharing, on the horizon, combined with the fact that these last few months are going to be the last few months that without heavy regulation, which is supposed to be part of the revenue sharing and the settlement that we're seeing, is that there's going to be stricter guidelines on these third-party NIL deals, and in terms of these third parties providing detailed information into what they're getting paid and how much value players are actually providing. In that sense, it's supposed to eliminate some of these NIL deals that are just astronomical numbers. But the next few months, before that takes place this summer, which is the expected start date of this settlement, it's going to be a bit of a free for all these next few months with the transfer portal. I fully expect that the transfer portal this year is going to be the craziest it's ever been, both in terms of the quantity of players that enter the portal, the quality of players that enter the portal, and then the dollar figures that these portal guys get. So, Kyle Whittingham, he's always had a good idea of what's coming in college football, and he made it pretty clear on Monday of just where it's headed and where Utah's at and what they're competing against, and it's going to be a pretty big portal season for Utah.
The portal season is going to be wild because the term, going shopping in the portal was used multiple times, obviously by Kyle,
Mm-hmm.
and even just addressing the offseason, Steve, like that just seems like something so out of the norm for Kyle, where he'd go, well, that's something we'll address in the offseason and then move straight on. Like, we're in the middle of the dang season here. But he's been talking about this stuff, and one of those things also has been the search for an offensive coordinator. That's been very, very public, the talk of that. Is it going to be, do you think, a drastic change from the style that they've had before for Kyle Whittingham? Do you think he steps way outside and goes, we got to come up with something wild so that we can start scoring 35 to 40 points a game here?
It'll be certainly interesting to see what sort of style they embrace, right? Under Andy Ludwig, they were still scoring 35 points a game with that brand of ball, and yet I think there's certainly a desire to open it up a little bit more. I know that's the case with Morgan Scalley. Morgan Scalley's expressed that sort of sentiment that that he understands that they need to throw the ball more and wants to, and he understands it more so from just the impact that it can have on recruiting. Right, recruits want to play for programs that throw the ball around, and so he sees it when he's out recruiting, and he hears it when he talks to recruits, and so he knows the importance of having an offense that can generate that where it's not a complicated process, essentially what I'm getting to. So in terms of that sense, I think that'll be the biggest, the most drastic change is Andy Ludwig's offense was essentially a pro style offense with checks and just based on different looks, in play adjustments, side adjustments, in terms of passing routes. And, it's a lot for players to take in. And I think what you'll see is, a point of emphasis for Utah in terms of finding an offense that's a little bit more simpler, right? Simple for players to assimilate. And because, with the way that roster construction is changing, you're not going to have guys for 2, 3, 4 years. You're going to have them for a year. You're going to have them for 2 years, maybe 3. In most cases, it's going to be a short-term thing. So you can't have guys sitting in the program, sitting in an offense for, multiple seasons. It's got to be quick. And so I think that'll be the biggest adjustment we see more so than anything else, is just an offense that's a little bit more simple and easier for players to take in, to learn, and to essentially hit the ground running.
Real quick, Steve, in terms of going forward this season, obviously a big matchup against Iowa State this week, and then obviously the season finale at UCF. Give me a sense of the mindset you're getting, the vibe I guess you're getting from the team right now as they head into these 2 games with bowl eligibility still on the line here. Yeah,
I think there's certainly a desire to end this losing streak. I know that much.
Sure.
They want this to be over. They want to get back in the win column. So that's a big motivating factor. But it's tough when you hit this 6-game slide and you hit it at the point of the season that they did, and now you're 2 games away, and it's hard to get. It's hard to say that this team is super motivated just based on things that I have heard, but I know that there's still a lot of buy-in and a lot of guys that are showing up to practice every day and putting in the work, and that's the defense. You still see that with Morgan Scally and his guys on that side of the ball. There's still a lot of buy-in there. Offensively, obviously, it's been a struggle. And I think, there's certainly some questions about guys and, how checked in they are and all that stuff. I think there's certainly questions there, but I think there's still a good amount of motivation to potentially get a win against Iowa State this weekend, to battle, to fight, to get back into the win column. I think there's still a lot of that there, with UCF. If they do get this win against Iowa State, which is going to be tough, but I think it's a matchup that Utah can, they can find a way to a win against Iowa State. They're not overwhelmed in terms of talent. It's going to require a great effort, but I think it's still a win. So if they get this one, that will certainly change the vibe and feel as we head into that final game with UCF as well.
Steve Bartle, Ute Insider, KSLSports.com. You can find his byline there. Of course, anything Ute related, Steve is on top of it. Senior day, of course, for this final game up on the hill of the regular season of the home games. And big group of seniors as well, 25, I think Coach Witt said, right? Big group of guys who, and a lot of them who have been just in that, a lot of them are going off into the distance here, into their futures after having long COVID pauses and all that stuff. And so this is a huge senior class and a lot of guys who've given a lot for this program. So, Steve, we're looking forward to Saturday, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep, thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
There you go. Steve Bartle.
It's kind of crazy just to consider. You're right. How many guys have been around this program for as long as they have?
Well, a guy like Mekhi Bernard, who we've talked to a bunch this season, right? He came into the program in 2018, I want to say.
And they've put their heart and soul into this thing.
Yeah.
So
in his case, he's multiple injuries.
Blood, sweat, and tears, quite literally,
100%,
for that young man.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of these guys, to have the season go like they did, it's just like it has so far. Be nice to end it on a couple of nice wins. And, man, it'd be nice to get one at home because it's been a rough one up at Rice Cycles this year.
No doubt.
All right. Join Jake and Ben, by the way, tomorrow. They're going to be cheering you on and doing their program from ARUP Blood Services. Your donation helps patients at University of Utah and Huntsman Hospitals. Go check it out. Score big, helping your community. Visit utahblood.org. That's utahblood.org. We'll come back, and we have tons more to jump into. We've only got a little bit we've got a shorter shows. We only have just about an hour left of the program today. We've got a lot to break down, so we'll come right back. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back. Final segment of this first hour here. We've only got 2 hours today, too, because of Jazz basketball coming up at about 5 o'clock. You're going to get your pregame right here on the radio home of your Utah Jazz, 97.5 Kissel Sports. And by the way, did we mention also, I don't know if we mentioned this year, Jake, enough times. We are also the official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club, who are firing up against the Boston Bruins tonight. And that pregame fires up over on KSL 1160 AM. So
They're at
there you go.
TD Garden, one of the original 6 tonight.
We got you all covered up. We got you all figured out. And and Boston came here, and the hockey club beat them.
Yes.
So probably some revenge on the mind from the Bruin. We'll see.
And the Bruins made a move this week, firing their head coach, Tim Montgomery.
Ooh. You know what's funny about the firing of a head coach? That actually galvanizes a team in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know, they like get together, they're like, we're gonna win this one for the Gipper.
And
or we're gonna show everybody we're worth coaching.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, all right, let's go put on for this.
Whoever the next person is.
Yeah.
I got to show off my stuff here.
Yep.
All right. Would you rather? I want to remind you that Ethan Millard from Teton Wealth, my old radio partner on the Nightside Project, he's going to be live with Hans and Scotty tomorrow in studio to help you with your retirement planning. Tune in for all the details. Visit retireteton.com. That's retireteton.com to check it out. All right. Would you rather? I give you a scenario. You give me which one you'd rather have. I got to change some of the numbers on this. Okay.
All right.
And we since determined what your favorite chicken situation would be. Because I was like, are you a Cane's guy? Are you a classic Chick-fil-A guy?
I actually need to change my answer one more time.
Are you hold on, okay, let me see. Popeyes?
Nope.
Okay.
Popeye's pretty good, though. I do love me some Popeyes.
You're going to go OG 11 Herbs and Spices with KFC?
Used to be.
Okay.
Not that.
Oh, you're the gas station Chester's Chicken guy.
Nope. Chester's Chicken.
All right, what do you have? What's yours?
You ever been to Slim Chickens?
Oh, no.
Love me some Slim Chickens.
So down in the South, when I was a kid, we used to go to Church's Chicken.
Yeah,
Church's is good.
I've been to Church's. I've had Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles down in SoCal.
Down in L.A., yeah.
Yep. I love me some chicken, but right now it's currently Slim Chickens.
Slim Chicken. So let's say that Slim Chickens approaches you,
okay,
an interior offensive lineman at the local school, and says, hey, Jake, we want to give you an option here. Would you rather have $20,000 in a check, or you can eat at Slim Chickens for life every day if you wanted to? A life, a all you can eat for the rest of your life at Slim Chickens. And it's not about necessarily making the $20,000 worth. If you're going to eat $20,000 worth of chicken, I certainly hope you get there at some point. Maybe into your 70s. You won't make it into your 70s if you're eating chicken every day. But I do want to know, because I know where I was at in college. I wanted money and food. So which one is it? If you're one of these players.
In this circumstance, give me the $20K.
Okay.
The thing about it is,
you're no fun.
I'm with you. I want money and food.
Imagine rolling up and going, honey, what's for dinner tonight? Oh, never mind.
Well,
I know the answer.
And I will also say this about Slim Chickens: the versatility of this restaurant is pretty good.
Look at you.
Because they got the chicken fingers.
Okay, you don't have the NIL deal with them right now yet.
They also have wings. So you got the versatility there to mix it up.
You know what
I
think happened, Alex? Our producer, Alex. You know what I think happened? I think he already got the NIL deal from Slim Chickens. And what I really appreciate is the ranch sauce.
Stop talking about it, okay?
Buy one, get one free today.
It's supposed to be quiet, okay?
All right.
No, I would take the $20K.
Okay.
I take the money.
All right. Last one.
Okay.
Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers in his prime or Eli Manning in his prime? Eli Manning, of course, he's on the list that semifinals to possibly get to the Hall of Fame. You're already going to go Aaron. You're already going to go Aaron Rodgers.
I know that Eli has the hardware. I know that he has 2 Super Bowls, his 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I know that Aaron Rodgers only got 1. But if you ask me, Eli is more of a product of what Tom Coughlin and the Giants had built up around him, whereas Aaron in his prime, he was almost single-handedly dragging Green Bay to that finish line, it felt like. So I would take give me Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Notwithstanding all the hijinks, all of the conspiracy theories, everything that he proclaims to believe in, all that stuff, but I would take Aaron.
How many times did he win the MVP? Twice?
4 times.
4 times.
He's a 4-time MVP.
That's not bad.
He's only got the 1 Super Bowl
He's
title.
got the 1 Super Bowl, and Eli gets you to the Super Bowl and wins them for you.
Yeah, and
and he's one of the best passers of all time too. Like from a yardage standpoint,
Yes, he
he
is.
didn't necessarily win everything. I think he's exactly 500. They're like, what's his record? He's like,
and it's also
171 and 171.
This is also personal preference because I will take the Packers over the Giants.
Okay,
Any day.
all right, there you go.
There you go.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back when we return. Braden Bell, play-by-play broadcaster at Arizona State University. He's part of that broadcast program down there at the Walter Cronkite School of Broadcast and Journalism. Haven't heard that a few times this week, have we? Not enough.
Patrick Kinahan's proud of you.
He's very
That.
proud. I had to make sure and sneak it in there. All right. We'll take the break. We'll chat with Braden Bell next and preview this Arizona State team. Ben Anderson also going to join us next hour, our Jazz insider, give us some thoughts on this Jazz team and where they're at right now as they get ready to take on the San Antonio Spurs tonight in San Antonio. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.